I'm Sabbir Ahmed, an undergraduate student of Eastern University, Bangladesh. I'm presenting this work on behalf of the authors. Co-authors are Rahat, Jahangir, Rony, Tanvir, Hasan, and Dr. Ahmed. The title of our study is Smartphone Usage Behavior between the Depressed and Non-Depressed Students. Today, all of we know that smartphone has become an inseparable part in our daily life. We use it for various purposes, and it helps us in different ways from morning to night. But previous studies find a negative impact of a smartphone on mental health, and it causes problems like anxiety, depression, etc. Therefore, understanding smartphone uses behavior of the people who are suffering from mental health and also understanding how do they differ from the other groups of people is important, because it may help the developers to develop technology that can mitigate the negative influence of a smartphone. And also it can help the smartphone designers to design a smartphone as a better humanitarian technology. These are actually the motivations behind our study on mental health using a smartphone usage data. This is an ongoing research project, and in this study, we are going to present how do the depressed and non-depressed students use a smartphone, and also we are going to present how do they differ. To get a unbiased findings, we have developed an Android app which can collect past 7 days actual app usage data very accurately. To understand the prevalence of depression among these students, we have used PSQ-9 questionnaire, which is widely used for detecting depression. Due to COVID-19 situation, it was very difficult for us to arrange face-to-face meeting to collect data. Therefore, for most of the participants, we have arranged virtual group meeting, and for few of the participants, it was face-to-face meeting. 44 students participated in our study, and they were from 10 different universities of Bangladesh and 8 different faculties. Most of the students were from the computer science and engineering department. As exam may have impact on mental health of the students, which may cause to have a biased findings, we have ensured that none of the participants have exam near to the data collection phase. To find out the difference of smartphone usage behavior between the depressed and non-depressed students, we have used t-test or manual test depending on the normality of the data. When the data was normally distributed, we have used standard t-test. Otherwise, we have used non-parametric test like man-Whitney-U. We have used both one-tailed and two-tailed hypothesis test depending on the findings, and we'll discuss about this during presentation of this findings section. As multiple completion can cause problems like type 1 error, we have adjusted p-values using FTR method. FTR is less conservative and widely used for adjusting p-values. In PSQ-9 questionnaire, score varies from 0 to 27. And previous study uses 10 as the value to differentiate depressed and non-depressed students or people. Following that one, that is the score 10, we find that there are 18 depressed students and 26 non-depressed students. And they were at 40.9% and 59.1% respectively. To understand the difference of smartphone usage behavior between these two groups of students, we have analyzed data in terms of aggregated smartphone usage data and in terms of app categories usage data. For the first one, we have aggregated all apps usage data found in each of the participants' smartphone. Then we check how do they differ in terms of usage data like duration, launch, number of used unique apps, etc. It was very surprising to see that though the depressed and non-depressed students do not differ in terms of number of used unique apps, they significantly differ in terms of frequency of launch per app. And in case of depressed students, frequency of launch per app is significantly higher than the non-depressed students. This reveals that depressed students may have less concentration while using a smartphone because they frequently move from one app to another app. To understand this more, we have divided a day into 4 equal time ranges, and we have used 6 hours as an interval. As in terms of whole day data, we find significant difference hypothesized that in each of the time ranges also, depressed students' frequency of launch per app will be higher than the non-depressed students. Therefore, for this purpose, we have used one-tailed hypothesis test instead of two-tailed. We find that in the night time range, in the afternoon, as well as in the evening time range, which is considered as the study time in Bangladesh, depressed students' frequency of launch per app is significantly higher than the non-depressed students. After adjusting p-values for multiple completion, we find that the afternoon time range difference and evening time range difference is statistically significant. To analyze the smartphone usage behavior between these two groups of students, we have analyzed data in terms of app category. In 7 days, participants have used 695 different apps. And on average, they have used 52 apps. After that, we exclude the launcher-like apps, which are less informative as remarked by a previous study. Then we find that there are apps of 26 categories. During categorization of the apps, we have considered the features of the apps as well as the developers referred category in Google Play Store. Due to page limitation, it was very difficult for us to present all app categories analysis. Therefore, in this study, we have presented analysis regarding communication category and social media category. These were the most used two categories. We find that in case of communication category, depressed students' usage duration is significantly higher than the non-depressed students. Moreover, their frequency of launching communication category apps is also significantly higher than the non-depressed students. Furthermore, we find similar significant difference when you consider data like communication category usage duration per app, frequency of launch per communication category apps. This reveals that depressed students' communication category usage is significantly higher than the non-depressed students. To understand the communication category usage behavior of these two groups of students more, we have used diurnal usage data as well. We find that in the nighttime range, there is no significant difference between the depressed and non-depressed students in terms of communication category usage duration. We find similar findings when you consider data like duration per app. That is, in the nighttime range, there is no significant difference. However, in other time ranges, that is in the morning, afternoon, evening, depressed students' communication category usage duration is higher. And after adjusting p-values, we find a statistically significant difference in the afternoon and in the evening. On the other hand, in terms of frequency of launch per communication category app, we find statistically significant difference in each of the time ranges. Moreover, in terms of duration per app, as well as in terms of frequency of launch, there are some significant difference. This reveals that in terms of communication category diurnal usage data, depressed and non-depressed students have significantly different diurnal usage pattern. Then we explored the social media category usage data. It was very surprising to see that though the depressed and non-depressed students do not differ in terms of social media category, we found a statistically significant difference in case of communication category. We find that depressed students and non-depressed students' social media category usage data are indifferent, and in terms of ease of the usage data, that is duration, launch, number of used unique apps, duration per app, launch per app, duration per launch, p-value is much higher than the significance level, 0.05. This reveals that there is no significant difference between these two groups of students in terms of social media category usage data. We have explored the social media category diurnal usage data as well. We find that in terms of frequency of launch per app, depressed students use social media category apps significantly less than the non-depressed students, and it happens in the evening time range. However, in terms of other usage data like duration per app, frequency of launch, there is no statistically significant difference after adjusting p-values for multiple completion. As in terms of whole day data and in terms of diurnal usage data, that is duration per app, launch, there is no statistically significant difference. We conclude that there is no notable difference in terms of social media category usage data between the depressed and non-depressed students. Our findings of communication category contradicts with the findings of a previous study, which was conducted using a smartphone sensed data. They find a negative relation between depression score and conversation. And contradiction can be due to the reason that they considered data, that is, they considered conversation that occurs around the people. And we have considered conversation that occurs only through the communication category apps. Depressed students may use communication category apps more due to having less energy, as they may have less energy for the real world communication. And this might motivate them to do communication with their friends, family through the communication category apps. And this has been remarked by a previous study in case of social media users. Though we failed to find out the actual reasons of such behavior of the depressed students, we have presented new findings based on the actual app usage data. And we hope that this will help the researchers of this area. Another main limitation of our study is we had very small sample size, that is only 44 students, and also data collection length is also small, that is only 7 days. We have presented that depressed and non-depressed students have significantly different smartphone usage behavior in terms of frequency of launch per app. Moreover, their communication category usage behavior is also significantly different. They have significantly different diurnal usage pattern in terms of communication category usage data, as well as in terms of frequency of launch per app diurnal usage data. Thus, we conclude that depressed and non-depressed students have significantly different smartphone usage behavior, especially in terms of communication category usage data. Thank you all for listening. Any questions or suggestions, please?